Okay, here we go. My birthday cake portfolio. Birthday cake number 1 was for Max's first birthday. It was basically a sheet cake with 3 smaller cakes on the top, and I tinted the icing 3 different colors. The actual sails are made with paper, and the stickers, there are stickers on the sails, and then I just cut out little red flags. I used straws for the masts, and you can't see because I didn't take very many pictures when I made my first few cakes. I had names written on the back of each boat, one for my son, and one for my nephew, and one for my niece. Here you can kind of see how the boats were kind of separated on top of the cake there. There's Max when he was a year old. He was 4 months premature, so he looks more like a 6-month-old here than a year-old baby, but he was enjoying. Each little sailboat was removed and was eaten separately. This is cake number 2. Less creative, I think, but it was 2 round cakes just put side by side. Oreo cookies for the ears and hands and feet, and there was some licorice string used for the mouth, red gumdrop for the nose, a chocolate wafer cookie with a marshmallow and an M&M for the eyes, and the brown fur was made with coconut that was dusted with cocoa powder, and then the rest of it is just a regular cake with white icing on it. This is the only picture I took of it. I didn't take very many pictures at the beginning, and none of this is digital. I had to scan these, so the quality isn't that great. So that was birthday number 2. Moving on to birthday number 3, which was a school bus. And that's just pieces of cake stacked one on top of the other. The windows are fruit roll-ups. There's some licorice on the sides for the window edges. There's Oreo cookies for the wheels. There were little licorice candies for the marker lights. It had M&Ms for the red light. There was some licorice there and some candy melting wafers for the headlights. And it's just buttercream, a yellow buttercream icing that I smoothed down as much as I could. And that is birthday cake number 3. And there's Max blowing out his candles. And he's getting ready to eat it, so he was very happy to pull the candles out. Here we go, next birthday. This is a pull cake. It's basically a round cake that had the center cut out. You ice it with white, you cool it right down in the freezer, and then you pour blue jello in the middle, and then you put it back in the fridge for it to cool and set. The top of the cake is made with miniature chiclets for the tile work on the top of the cake. The lifeguard tower is made with pretzel sticks that were glued together with royal icing. The little lifesavers are actual lifesaver candy with red stripes and icing put on them. The little tiny bears are graham wafer bears, and I use icing to put their eyes on and their little bathing suits and bikinis on. The little beach towels are sour belts. The lifeguard, not the lifeguard stand, the diving board is actually a Starburst candy, and so are the little handles, and the diving board is a piece of gum. This was a lot of fun to make. I like this cake. Lifeguard stand has a Starburst candy that's melted and flattened out and put on top of there. Everything was edible in this particular cake, and there's Max, and it was his 4th birthday for this one. 5th birthday cake, there was a pirate theme. So basically we have a sheet cake in the bottom, another little cake on the top of it. These a marzipan alligator. And not everything is edible on this cake. You can see that the cannons are candles that are being held on with Rolo candy stuck to the side. The edges of the boat are wafer sticks. The sails are paper. The masts are skewers. I found a skull and crossbones image online, printed it out and stuck it on. The treasure chest and the pirate are not edible. They are plastic from a toy set he had at the time. He just loved pirates at the time. The little cannonballs on the deck are actually gumballs. There's a different angle. You can see the candles sticking out the sides for the cannons. And there's Max looking at it. He really liked this cake. You can see the alligator, and there they are, lit, getting ready to blow out. He really liked Captain Hook, so I put the alligator in the water for the Captain Hook. Now, this particular cake was for his 6th birthday, and what I did was I saw an idea online for cupcakes, so I put all these cupcakes together, and I had 2 different flavors, so you just have to pick one what you want. I put a skim coat of, I put an icing all over top of it to hold them all together. The water is blue, the sand is made with graham wafer crumbs, and I'll show you some details. The shark is plastic, that is red gel icing for the unfortunate little graham wafer bear. I just used icing to put on the little bikinis and the bathing suits. Those are just those cocktail parasols. Now for the actual beach scene, I have little bears with lifesaver candies for the lifesavers with red. The beach ball is just a round mint with some icing on it. The blankets are those fruits, those flat fruit strips that you can buy. I just put stripes on with icing. The little palm trees are pretzel sticks with paper, cut out paper leaves on that I stuck on the top of them. And the beach sand is graham wafer crumbs, as I mentioned before. Lifeguard stand, pretzel stuck together with royal icing. The starfish and the crab are plastic, but the seaweed is done with gel icing. And the little lifeguard is a giant graham wafer bear, and I made the little bathing suit with icing. And the little inner tube thingy is a peach ring. The sailboat, the little surfboard is, I think they're called Hot Lips candies. They're kind of like lip shaped. And the little fishies on there are just candy fish. And I use icing to put all the details on the little bears. Next cake was, I use the same kind of cupcake idea. What's great about this is that you don't have to bring a knife, and everyone gets a little piece of cake and they get the flavor of cake they want. I basically covered the entire thing with white. I used green sprinkles for the grass, and I used Oreo cookie crumbs for the track. There's some things that are not edible on this cake. The little cars I bought, I should say, and I actually gave them away to the kids that came to the party afterwards. And all the little road signs that you have on there, I just got them on Google Images, printed them out, and stuck them on toothpicks. The trees are plastic trees that came in a toy set that Max had. Here's a close-up of that. He had a little construction site kit, so I found the little construction barriers and stuck them on there. And I put a little humor in this one by getting a car that went out of control and knocked over a tree. I also found the racing flags there. I found those online as well. And this was for birthday number 7. And most of the cakes here, Max requested himself. Now, cake number 8, Max went into a cat-loving phase. He just loved cats. He asked me for a cat cake. Now, basically, this is one of the first cakes I made that I pretty much designed on my own. I did look at some photos online, but I kind of just cut the cake into pieces and glued them all together with buttercream icing. And I'll show you what I did to make the cake here. This is for his 8th birthday. It's just basically cake pieces that I put together and covered the entire thing over with the orange icing, and then used a fork to make the fur on there, and you can see how that turned out. Okay, the collar of the cat was made with fruit roll-ups, and the ears and the nose were made with pink candy melting wafers. And you'll see a little bit more of those details as we get to the front here. The eyes are candy melting wafers that I used icing on to make the pupils. The paws and mouth are icing, candy melting wafers. I melted 2 or 3 together and then just cut them out into a triangle shape. The nose was a round one. I just cut into that shape. The whiskers are actually a broom I had. I cut some of the broom strands out and I cleaned them and stuck them into the cake. And the bird is a plastic bird I got from the dollar store. I cut its head off, and I used some fake blood that we had from Halloween last year. And this was Mac's idea for the bird thing, being half-eaten, and I stuck a feather in the cat's mouth. This was a big hit with the kids. Next year, the cat theme continued. This was a kitty litter cake that I made. I bought a brand new kitty litter pan, put a cake in the bottom, icing on top, and then these are vanilla wafers that are crushed on the top there. And the little kitty poops are made with Tootsie Roll that were melted in the microwave and then made into poop shapes. I found this idea online, and if you Google kitty litter cake, you'll see examples of it. It's a very popular cake. And it was a very easy once we got there. We stuck candles in it. This was for birthday number 10. He had suddenly developed an interest in war things, so he wanted a battlefield cake. So it was a sheet cake with green icing, and the sand is graham wafer crumbs. The bunkers are made with wafer cookies glued together with just plain old buttercream icing. The tank is also made with a separate little cake, a pound cake covered with buttercream icing that I tinted to that nice green color. There are some inedible things on there. The little army guys are plastic. The tank wheels are made with Oreo cookies and Oreo cookie wafer for the turret and icing for the tracks. And I found a little Canadian flag online, printed it out on a toothpick. The bunker, there was a destroyed bunker, which is just graham wafer, which is those wafer cookies glued together, and then stuck little people in there. And the actual fire, I printed out fire onto photo paper. I just Googled fire and printed it out, and then cut it out and stuck it in there with toothpicks, stuck to toothpicks. This was this year's cake, was R2D2. R2D2 was one of the most challenging ones I've ever done. It's several layers of cake stacked one on top of the other. There's actually the bottom part that's actually not cake. There's actually a metal tin in the bottom. I just covered it with icing. The legs are made with Rice Krispie squares that have been sculpted. So those are stuck on with skewers. There's actually a big dowel that goes right down the middle to hold everything together. I covered it all over with white icing, let it set, and then I started to decorate with different colors of icing to make all the details. This is done completely in buttercream. I'm sure it would have been a lot easier to do with fondant, but I've never worked with fondant, so I just always work with buttercream. And there's the back of it. The top of it is rounded, as you can see. That I actually baked a cake in a large metal bowl right in the oven, and that made the top of R2D2's head, the dome shape. So I actually used a toothpick beforehand to draw out all the shapes, and I found ideas for this online because someone had already done this, a similar cake to this online, and I kind of followed their example. That's it for Max's birthday cakes. This is a cake I made for my nephew. We have a lake nearby here that has cliffs. They're all made with sand, and he wanted a sand, we call them the sandbanks. They call this the Redneck Yacht Club because a lot of people hang out there with their boats in the summer and have picnics and have a couple of beers. So I made this cake for him, graham wafer for the pond, for the sand, and just blue for the water, and I made the boat separately as a separate piece of cake. And you can see I use the same kind of decorating techniques I used on the other cakes to make all the other details. Little beer cooler is graham wafer crackers covered in starburst candy that's been melted, and there's sour belts for the windshield of the boat and the side stripes. And there's cute little humorous little touches, little bears falling off, getting stuck in the sand. This was a fun cake to make.